All right, today I'm gonna do another one of these 10-minute research challenges. I'm on the Associated Press website to get an idea for what to research today, and I'm choosing this one over here, which is the Mexican election that is upcoming. I know even less about this than about NAFTA. I'm going into this completely blind, so hopefully by the end of this, I'll be able to use my notes over here on my notepad and talk about the upcoming Mexican election for a couple of minutes. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, so I like Wikipedia pages for elections because they summarize, first of all, in the info cards, the main leaders involved in that election. Okay, what are some of the main categories of things that we want to research when it comes to an election? I think the first thing is main parties involved. That's something we should learn. Maybe main issues of the election, like policy issues and all that. I think these are a couple of good places to start, and then we can see if we find anything else that's important. I'll go back to the Associated Press article as well and skim through it to see if there's anything important. But main parties involved for now. Well, okay, before we get into that, I also want to just summarize what happens in this election, because it is important to note that in different electoral systems in different countries, they vote for very different things, right? Sometimes you vote for a president in one election, the parliament in another election, maybe even like the upper chamber in a different election. So what's happening in this one? Well, you can see it's happening on June 2nd. I'll write that down as well. That's a good detail to have. June 2nd, 2024. Voters will elect a new president to serve a 6-year term, and all 500 members of the Chamber of Deputies and all 128 members of the Senate of the Republic. So what that means is, yeah, it's a presidential plus legislative election for both houses in a bicameral legislative system. Okay, that's the best way to put it. Okay, so this is also important. It says that the incumbent president cannot rerun. His name is Lopez Obrador because of term limits. Okay, so 500 members of the Chamber of Deputies are elected by two methods: 300 in single member constituency by plurality voting, and then 200 elected by proportional representation. Okay, so what this is actually called is mixed member proportional system. What that means is some members, 300, are decided by plurality vote in electoral districts. Okay, and then other members, remaining members, here we're talking about in the Chamber of Deputies. I should write that. Chamber of Deputies is presumably the lower house in Mexico. Okay, so the remaining members, 200 of them, are decided by proportional representation in 5 multi-member districts. So, okay. So yeah, you can see this hover over tooltip. They're large regions in Mexico, and each one of them has a certain number of seats that are allotted proportionally that make up these remaining 200. Okay, so no party is allowed to hold more than 300 seats. Oh, that's an interesting fact as well. What else? The 128 members of the Senate are also elected by 2 methods: 96 in 3 seats based on the states, and remaining 32 in a single nationwide proportional representation. Okay, this is also mixed member. Now, the main parties involved, I'll try to get through this quickly. This is going to be important. So one thing I want to see is which party was the previous president from, the one who can't run again. And this guy, you can usually see in their info card somewhere it says their political affiliation. There you go, it's Morena. Basically, the incumbent party is this one over here, Morena. I'll write that down over here. And then usually they put the next 2 biggest parties over here, so I'll just assume that that's what we have over here as well. We're not looking for every last detail, we just want enough for a couple of minutes. So Morena is represented by the nominee. I'm assuming this is for president. Yeah, you can see this is the presidential candidate for Morena. So her name is Claudia Sheinbaum. And then, okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one for PAN, but I'll copy it in. Okay, and then for MC, we have this man, Jorge. Now, I just want to summarize each of these parties quickly. I have a trick over here for when you look at a party on a Wikipedia page as well, in their info card, they'll show like their ideology generally. So it looks like left-wing nationalism, left-wing populism, progressivism, just generally left-wing. Okay, so I'll write that down here. Okay, and then PAN is, just because it's blue, I'm going to assume it's conservative, but let's see. Christian humanism, conservatism, Christian democracy. So I'm going to classify this as Christian conservatism, which is a pretty, from what little I know about Mexican history, it has been quite a movement. And then this MC party over here, let's see. I'm going to assume this is like a liberal conservative party. Oh, okay, social democrat actually. So this is more like center left. Okay, now I just want a couple of bullet points on the main issues that are, I guess, being discussed or debated in this election. We have some headings over here. We have security, social programs, and electoral reforms. I'll write those down. Okay, and it says polling indicates that crime and violence is a big concern. Okay, and then it looks like I just read this topic sentence over here. It looks like Morena is criticized for being soft on crime by PAN. Okay, it says the previous president Morena implemented a number of programs last term, and it says Galvez supports these programs and have pledged not to abolish them. Okay, Galvez I believe is PAN, so they have been popular, and PAN does not want to abolish. Okay, and electoral reforms. Basically, I'm just going to summarize this as local level electoral reforms that did not pass last. Okay, what else do I have? Opinion polls. I just want to do this quickly. Okay, Morena is at the top, it looks like, followed by Galvez, and then Alvarez. Okay, so polls, Morena, PAN, MC. That's just the order. Okay, I didn't see hopefully my time just ran up a few seconds ago, and I wasn't continuing past that, but I have some notes now. Let's see what I can do with this. I'll reset my timer, put it at 2 minutes now, and then I'll begin talking. Just remember that this is obviously, you can do way more research with more time. I'm not denying that. I'm just trying to give an idea of how much you can learn in 10 minutes. And I think it is more than what you might expect. All right, well, let's see how this goes. 3, 2, 1. All right, so there's a Mexican election that's coming up on June 2nd, 2024. And it's an election for both the president and both houses of the bicameral legislative system that exists in Mexico. The incumbent president can't run again. His name's President Lopez Obrador, because he's reached his term limit. So their electoral system in Mexico is that they have a mixed member proportional system in both the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate, the lower and the upper house in the bicameral system. The majority of seats are determined through plurality voting in like districts and states in Mexico, in both the chamber and the Senate. And then a minority of seats in both of those houses are voted on via proportional representation. The main parties involved in this upcoming election are Morena, which is a left-wing progressive party. The second one is PAN, which is a Christian conservative party. And the third one is MC, which is a center-left social liberal / social democratic party. So the three main issues that seem to be at play here are security, social programs, and electoral reforms. Security is a particularly big one, especially for Mexico in recent years, because public polling has shown that violence and crime has gone up as a concern in voters' minds. And Morena, the currently governing party, has been criticized by opponents for being too soft on crime. Social programs that were implemented by President Obrador have been supported by other parties, and they won't be abolished, so they have been popular. In terms of electoral reforms, there have been many local level electoral reforms that have been proposed that could not have been passed in previous terms. Okay, so if I were to just, I guess, do some quick criticism of myself, I wish I had like 5 seconds at the end to just explain where the current polling stands and explain that Morena, is ahead of PAN and PAN is ahead of MC. But I think that's a good overview of the constitutional system in Mexico, the allotment of seats and all that. A very general overview of the party ideologies. So I hope that was interesting, and I'll head out. Let's see what I research next.